As we get ready to kick off and get started with the course, I want to go through the structure just to give you a little bit of a roadmap to know what to expect and what you've gotten yourself into here. I'm going to start off going through just the database basics. What is a database? Database types and objects, tables, data types, primary keys, indexes, those sorts of things. And then I'll spend just a very few videos talking about database design basics. It's always good to review this stuff. And then we'll jump into Access specifically. And we'll talk about things like creating a database in Access, getting around in Access. Our interface has now changed a little bit. It's different than the last time you saw it. A couple of new twists and turns, and I'll go through those and show you around. We'll dig into Access data types and understanding those and some of our options as we build our tables. We'll dig into indexes just a little bit, talk about what indexes do for us, when they help us, when they hurt us, and then we'll talk about those sometimes confusing relationships between tables and how they help us manage our data. Then we'll dig into the datasheet view. This is where you tend to live a lot of your life as an Access administrator, and we'll talk about filtering our data in that datasheet view. Then we'll jump into queries, which is obviously kind of the heart and soul of what goes on in an Access database. We have to query data out of our database to make our database useful. And so we'll dig into the basics of building a good query, the different types of queries we can build. We'll talk about how to write them from scratch in SQL Server, use the design tool, all kind of cool stuff. And we'll do all of that by example so you can see it and follow along. Then we'll move toward Access forms. We'll take a look at building some forms to input and manage our data. We'll talk about that cool new control wizard and how we can use that thing to do some really neat stuff on our forms. Then we'll pay a little attention to Access reports to get the data out in a very pleasing, aesthetic way that people will enjoy looking at and actually see meaning in this data. And then we'll talk about external data. In the database world, you've always got data that you've got here you need to put there, and there's data over there that needs to be here. And we'll talk about the options for doing that in Access. And then we'll talk about something that always pops up with Access, and that is using Access as a multiple user application. Now, we always tend to evolve there, and there can be some things that bite you, and so we'll go through that. Splitting the database is one of the solutions to the multi-user application issues, and then I'll close the course out just by touching on the new macro functionalities in Access, and then just barely get you hopefully interested in some of the VBA functionalities, and we'll talk about some VBA basics. So we're going to cover a whole lot of stuff, and you're going to see a lot of time, real time, in the Access environment, clicking and dragging and dropping and making some things happen. So that's where we're headed, so let's get busy.